This week on FUT Weekly.
The survey results are in. How to pick the perfect keeper.
SBC gets you Spanish Villa for just 22k.
Professional footballer in midfield Musa shocker.
The easiest month of FUT Champions so far.
As always, we talk through the team of the week, Dynamite discard, and our informed impression.
Hello, and welcome to a big week. It's week 12, but it's actually
Episode 10.
episode 10, if you do it in episodes. So those who are eagle-eyed or eagle-eared will notice that we missed the first 2 weeks. So this is a celebratory episode.
Yeah.
We have also got a special kind of feature.
So 2 weeks ago now, Ben sent out a survey on goalkeepers where we got people to give the formation they used, their kind of defensive style, their attacking style, which goalkeeper they'd used in that team, and a star rating out of 5, how they found the keeper. Ben, why did you do this?
Well, Horace, the reason I kind of decided that this might be a good idea is because whenever I'm picking a team, I do kind of try and think about what kind of goalkeeper I want. Obviously, it's not always going to happen how you want because hybrids, etc. You can't always get the right
sometimes
keeper in.
you're forced.
You don't have much of a choice. But when I do get the choice, I think it is good. I've always found it effective to think about the way the team's going to play, what kind of shots I'm going to be having against me, and therefore, as a result, what kind of keeper do I want?
Yeah.
For that particular team. And I think I've kind of noticed, and from talking to you, talking to other people, that it's not really something people think about. And I think it has massively. Like, I'm one of the few people I feel over the last few years who doesn't complain about keepers that much.
Yeah.
And I think that that's been helped by the fact that I'm kind of trying to think a bit more about what keeper I want for a certain kind of purpose almost. And what I was thinking is it'd be interesting to see whether listeners were doing the same. Actually, I think some people kind of naturally move, especially if you use a team a lot, switch up their keeper and move towards a keeper which suits the way that
their play style, kind of almost subconsciously.
Yeah, exactly. So they're going to try a few keepers, and the one that fits is obviously going to be the one that matches that. So we should see, theoretically, especially if we've got good players, that they've picked keepers that suit the way they play. On the other hand, if people are unhappy with the keeper they've got, maybe they haven't used the team that long and they're just unhappy with them, hopefully we'll be able to work out why that is.
Yeah. In terms of how your play style can lead to you having more of a certain type of chance against you, our general rule on that we were thinking is if you defend deep and you have low pressure, you're probably going to get more long shots because your opponent has more time and space in your half. Whereas if you're doing high pressure, high aggression, if they kind of break your back line, you're going to have more one-on-ones.
Yeah, Martial's going to break
Martial, Vardy, Musa,
all those guys, just
Sadio Mane, those guys are going to be fishing through you. So kind of roughly in terms of a kind of high pressure versus low pressure, that's sort of our theory. And then in terms of crosses, it's basically how narrow you defend.
Yeah.
If you're more compact, you're probably going to get more balls into the box and there's more space on the flanks.
To an extent, if you're playing low pressure, often you can end up with more crosses just because people go round, like a shift, get moved around.
More likely to have a bit of space. So yeah, let's dive into some kind of responses and see what people were saying about their keepers. One thing to note before we do this, the vast majority of people were quite happy with their keepers, it seemed. Kind of, I think 80% of the responses were 4 or 5 stars. So it's been quite interesting to... We've been reading quite a lot into the few negative responses.
Yeah. But we've also been able to read into the positive responses in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Makes sense. See why certain keepers work.
So in terms of negatives, one of the most notable keepers, and this was a problem that I'd had and a problem keeper that a few people had sort of mentioned, is Rufia. He's
85 rated,
85 rated French keeper, and I think Saint Etienne he plays for. One of the things we noticed was quite interesting about him is he has no traits to back up his 85 rated card. And traits, there are kind of loads of really handy traits, which we'll probably go through as we go through the keepers. But he doesn't have any, which I think is a huge disadvantage. And the person that really didn't enjoy him was playing a system whereby he was low pressure. So basically he was having quite a lot of long shots against him.
Yeah.
And he is quite a small keeper with poor positioning. Well, not great positioning anyway. Whereas someone who played him in a high pressure system with high aggression was probably the only person I've heard who said
he was
quite good, because he's very kind of agile, nippy. He's not the slowest, so he can kind of cover the ground and make that kind of diving reflex save to stop a one-on-one.
Yeah, so his stats kind of lend him more to defending one-on-ones, though he's, in my experience, he's not brilliant at anything.
No, that's a good point. But Navas was the other keeper that was in a similar situation. He's small, not particularly solid in terms of positioning and handling. In fact, his handling is actually quite poor for his overall, and I think that was certainly noticeable to people who were playing, again, lower pressure systems. And this is obviously, playing low pressure leads to slightly more long shots, more crosses, and that is something that Navas basically was really not particularly good.
He's short, he doesn't dominate his box. Again, he's lacking the traits that you need that can kind of make up for some deficiencies in your height and other stats. And again, he's 85 rated, he's got decent diving and reflexes, but he doesn't have the other stats to back him up.
And some possession players did review him positively. I don't think he got any sort of 5 stars, but that just kind of shows that idea that if you're going for low pressure, you want someone big, solid, good positioning, good handling, so they don't spill the shots.
Yeah.
To on rushing attackers, and so those two players are players you want to avoid if you're going to go low pressure, I think. And of course, low aggression as well, because that's kind of how much you're actually sort of pressing the opponent.
Yeah, it's how quickly your players are closing down once they kind of trigger the press. And
exactly,
if you're doing that very slowly, then much more time to pick a long shot. So looking at some of the players that were very positively reviewed across the board, we've obviously got Butland and Begovic, who are low-rated keepers who are absolutely excellent this year. I think one of the key things with that is height, and across the board, height benefits keepers. I think there's an argument maybe that on average, taller keepers can't get down as fast.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's basically the only disadvantage to height. It makes them more dominant in their box, much better against long shots because they've got more reach. Yeah, I think essentially tall keepers were almost universally reviewed well.
You can almost take like a few hits on each stat for a player that's much taller.
Yeah, exactly. For instance, Czech, I think, was almost always reviewed well. He's got a couple of slightly average stats on his card, but he's 6'5". He's got excellent handling. So basically, he's kind of the ultimate and very good positioning. So he's kind of very, very good against long shots. So if you're going to be playing a sort of low pressure, low aggression style, someone like Czech,
playing a bit more counter attacking, he's kind of
someone like
going to work
Czech
really well.
Could really work for you.
And then there's also these other things to consider, which I think people are already kind of thinking about, things like long throws. If you're playing counter attacking, like having good long throw, having good kicking can help a lot. And a player who can, if you're really keen on your passing out from the back, having a player who's okay on the ball, you can look at their on the ball stats. On Foot Header has every stat for goalkeepers. Yeah, and it's quite useful to know.
Yeah. Other keepers who are maybe slightly higher rated than Butland and Begovic, who were generally reviewed well. Hugo Lloris, he's a very strong keeper. He is 6'3", I think, or 6'2". So he's one who makes up for not being the tallest with some very strong stats across the board, sort of very excellent stats across the board, as well as some quite useful traits.
Yeah, he has sweeper keeper, and I've found that we've chatted about it, but we're not quite sure what sweeper keeper does. It may be one of those traits that only impacts when he's being controlled solely by the computer. So it's like
it's kind of an offline play.
Yeah, so basically the computer is more likely to bring him out. Yeah. But I'm not sure whether that's the case. But I've noticed that he feels, well, not only that, but he's very quick. And so I've noticed that he feels very good at kind of coming out for the ball when you've got a through ball over the top, which is ideal because I tend to play a bit higher pressure than most, so can get caught out by that. So I really enjoy that, and I don't concede many long shots because I play a higher pressing kind of game a bit further up the pitch. So that fact that he doesn't have that high positioning and isn't the tallest doesn't bother me too much. Yeah. And he's comes for crosses as well, and he's got punchers, so I find that against sweatier players who want to go wide and put it into the box, he's quite helpful for that as well.
Yes, and again, those two traits, puncher and comes to crosses, help him to overcome his lack of height, maybe in terms of defending his box.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, one of the main reasons I started using him was because I got him in untradeable in that
in the 82 plus
thing. But I did kind of consider other keepers, but thought he is going to work for me.
Yeah, no, I've been using him consistently for the last 2 or 3 weekend leagues. I'm a big Hugo Lloris fan. Gianluigi Buffon also positively reviewed. In general, he is another one who is not the quickest, a bit like Petr Cech maybe, but has very good positional stats, strong against long shots. And one thing to note on him that we picked up on when we were looking at some actual in-game stats is Buffon is about 10 pace quicker than Per Mertesacker.
I think it was more than that. I think it was like almost twice as quick.
Yeah.
No, not quite twice.
Mertesacker is like 30 odd pace.
But actually, Lloris is twice as quick.
Yeah, Hugo Lloris is genuinely twice, or has twice, his pace stats are twice as high as Mertesacker's, which seems a bit ridiculous. I mean, Hugo Lloris is obviously a quick keeper. He's relatively young and athletic.
Buffon's like 40.
Buffon, he's 38. Like, yeah, that was a bit of a weird one.
But we also realised that basically speed, which is on the card as a stat,
the goalkeeper speed stat
is essentially it is just the acceleration.
Yeah, it's just their acceleration value, which I guess makes sense in that if you're doing a keeper charge, it's probably from when your opponent's approaching the edge of the box. And so it is basically their kind of off the line speed, how quickly they can get up to speed.
But there is an argument. There are some random keepers which actually have really, really high speed.
High sprint speed.
There's a Spanish keeper whose name eludes me actually, who had very, very high sprint speed and decent acceleration. So you wouldn't notice that he had high speed, but he actually, once he gets going, he's quite quick.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether that's particularly helpful.
Yeah, I mean, if you're planning on dribbling out with your goalkeeper because you're 5-0 down in the last minute and you want to try and score a worldie with your keeper, then maybe have a look at goalkeeper sprint speeds. But otherwise, it's probably not that useful.
I actually completely forgot to mention last week with the flick-ons. I actually scored a flick-on with the keeper, flicked it on and the keeper scored.
Oh,
I forgot to mention that.
Nice.
That was actually Navas. One of the few good things he did the time I had him. But yeah,
fair enough. So yeah, I think our overall conclusions are that the key stats, if you're facing long shots, are height, because height is it basically gives them more reach. It means you're less likely to get one of those situations where the ball it looks like the keeper should reach it and they just flap at it on the long shots. And alongside that, positioning and diving, because positioning improves their start position, diving again affects reach and how far they can dive. And handling, because less likely to spill it, give a rebound chance to an opponent. So against long shots, those are probably your key stats to look out for. If you're looking for a one-on-one keeper specialist, there's a trait to mention.
Which only 2 keepers have?
Only 2 keepers in the game have, which is goalkeeper one-on-one, and that's Samir Handanovic and Manuel Neuer.
So 2 pretty top
fairly
keepers.
top-rated keepers. I can testify that Handanovic is awesome. I've not used Neuer, but playing against him is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But outside of that trait, you want to look at speed, obviously, because the keeper needs to be able to close the distance, and reflexes probably is the one key stat there. I would say height in one is probably, even in a one-on-one, height is not essential, but important because it helps prevent against the keeper being lobbed.
Yeah.
Kind of a 5-6 inch difference between keeper heights can make quite a big difference there. And against crosses, the 2 traits, comes for crosses and or puncher, both very useful there. And a trait also to acknowledge that you want to avoid is cautious with crosses, which quite a few keepers actually have. Petr Cech has it.
I think if it depends, because if you have this is another thing to consider. If you have a very good centre-back pairing, or you just feel you don't have too many problems with crosses, sometimes cautious is better because at least they're on their line.
Yeah, true. You don't get the weird thing where they're caught horribly out of position,
jumping out there for no reason.
Yeah.
So there are swings and roundabouts there.
And then also positioning and reflexes for crosses, because positioning affects how well they're going to be positioned, and their reflexes, often when you get across into the box, you might have some very short range shots, and someone like Lloris has made some unbelievable point blank reflex saves for me, which I think a lot of keepers with kind of low 80s reflexes wouldn't have made.
Yeah. And the other thing is to consider handling as well for crosses, because that
true. Fewer spills.
Hold them better. And obviously we should mention chemistry styles, because we didn't ask for chemistry styles. I'm not convinced they have much of an effect. Yeah,
so we should preface this with, we're both like big believers in chem styles overall for outfield players. Like, when EA released that article with all the stat boosts, I'm inclined to take that at more or less face value. EA coming clean,
and
like
we've kind of vaguely experimented. Lots of
tried out
different chem styles,
chem
used them for a lot of games.
something like Mbaye Yang, who has pretty terrible finishing. Put sniper on him. That's allegedly a plus 15 finishing boost, and I 100% noticed the difference.
Yeah, because I played him a couple of games on basic, and like he could not finish a very small dinner, like a child-sized Happy Meal. But yeah, when you put sniper on him, he was actually like a perfectly capable finisher. He wouldn't have the highest finishing because his finishing starts so low. I think 85 or something like that.
Yeah, he gets about mid 80s with sniper. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, and you need that kind of those kind of plus 15 boosts that you get are noticeable. When you have a player on basic, that you do notice maybe a little boost from plus 5s and things, but I wouldn't say it's huge.
It's more marginal. But yeah, with goalkeeper chem styles, it's quite hard to tell how big an impact they have and whether the boost it's giving is as big as the kind of plus 10s and plus 15s you get with the outfield players. Because when these boosts are focused on only 4 or 5 stats,
that's possible.
It feels like that could completely transform how good a goalkeeper is.
If you're getting like plus 15, because I mean theoretically, the thing is you can't apply to two stats, which is generally when you get a plus 15.
Yeah, it's only splitting a 2 arrow boost across 3 stats.
Yeah, but the thing is when you get a plus 5 on a plus 10 on someone with like 89 reflexes.
Yeah, suddenly that's maxed out.
That's maxed out. So I'm not sure. I think it's hard to believe that they boosted quite the same way. Yeah. It also wasn't covered in EA's article on chemistry, which made me think that maybe they don't have that much of an impact, if at all.
Yeah. It's potential even. Yeah, that's an entirely cosmetic thing that they added because they wanted
more goals.
Or just as in when they released chem styles initially, they wanted people. They didn't want keepers to be like blank, but I don't know. That's a bit of EA conspiracy theorizing.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to figure it out as time goes on. But I certainly haven't noticed a huge impact that you kind of see with boosting players normally.
Definitely, I think your choice of keeper and matching it to your playstyle will have more impact than whatever chem style you put on. A couple of last things to note on the survey were just some of the kind of general bits of data collection it allowed us to do on kind of what the teams that our listeners are using, and we were wondering kind of how closely it would reflect the sort of teams we come up against, and overall almost everyone was using either a formation with a diamond midfield, so kind of a 4-1-2-1-2 variant, most commonly the 4-1-2-1-2-2, or a 4-3-3 formation, most commonly the 4-3-3-4, which is quite, I think that quite closely matches up what I was expecting. Definitely. Though 4-3-2-1 was much less popular than I was anticipating.
That you see so frequently.
But yeah, I would say I probably around 50% or more of the teams I play against in the weekend league are 4-3-2-1.
Yeah.
And whenever you see a pro player showing off their weekend league team or just saying this is my weekend league team, whether or not they're showing off with it, it's almost always 4-3-2-1.
Yeah.
So I guess kudos to our listeners for not being the predictable FIFA players.
And on the other hand, though, we are seeing a lot of formations which you'd expect to see coming up weekend league. So I guess it's not completely unreflective of the general population.
In terms of other playstyle stuff, defensively, the vast majority of the responses were just mid-pressure, mid-aggression, mid-width, which, to be honest, is what I experimented quite a lot with different extremes right after when EA made chem styles easier to implement this year. But I've reverted mostly to just mid-pressure, mid-aggression this year. I think it allows most balanced, most flexible approach to a game.
I think the thing is, unless you're like switching your custom tactics in game, there are times when you're going to want to keep the ball, and there are times when you're going to want to take advantage of a counter attack. And we should say that obviously many people had this kind of more balanced style. That makes it harder to draw conclusions. We did have quite a few people who were still low pressure.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of overall, it was looking at kind of how many people said this, how many people said that. It was harder to draw conclusions, but we got quite interesting insights from specific people's forms. Yeah. And then in terms of attacking style, about 2/3 of everyone who responded said they played possession. Just under a quarter played counter-attack. and the rest of the respondents used our other response. But then most of those that said other were said that they were using a combination of counter and possession.
So one of the things that overall I was interested in is how many people play the narrow formation and play possession with it. And I think that kind of contrasts with the majority of FIFA players, as we were saying. Maybe we have a more thinking audience. But yeah, because I've not really used the narrow formation at all.
This year?
Yeah. Have you used it yourself?
I tried a 4-3-1-2 quite early on and didn't get on with it particularly well. Then I maybe 3 weeks ago used a 4-1-2-1-2 in the weekend league, and for about 2/3 of a weekend league I got on quite well with it and I enjoyed it. I was using like Ben Arthur in the cam position with Lacazette and Niang, I think, up front, and that worked really well. And then it kind of went stale on me. I think I was just trying the same things and it wasn't really working. I had a bad run of games, and I've not actually used that formation again since.
So that's, I think, the problem I always have with those formations is they might be quite effective for a bit, but I always don't find I'm creative enough.
Yeah,
after using them for a while.
Play.
Yeah, I think I do like to cut in a bit of skill, bit of like passing, go to the byline if you want to be sweaty. You know, you've got the option. And I felt like whenever I've played a narrower formation, and 4-3-2-1 you can slightly get away with it because there are wingers which you can tell to drift wide.
Yeah,
but it doesn't quite feel like you're taking advantage of
all the space on the
pitch. You're not creating as many angles, but I guess you can still take advantage of the play, you know, in a different way.
I suppose what sort of worked for me with it was so often you're coming up against 90 plus pace fullbacks on both sides, and even if you've got a very quick winger, particularly if you're up against, say, Bellerin on their right hand side, no matter how good the dribbling on your winger is, a lot of the time Bellerin's pace just means he can almost run around you and he makes up for his lack of strength with pace. Whereas having a higher concentration of players in the middle, you can just kind of almost cut their fullbacks out of the game, and they can be an outlet for your opponent going forwards, maybe, but you focus your play and can overwhelm them in the middle to kind of play devil's advocate. Even though I have reverted to formations with wingers and had more success in the last couple of weeks, so I don't know.
I think one of the things that maybe kind of counteracts that is that I do find that with the wingers, you do occupy the fullbacks a lot more. Yeah. I hardly ever have concede from crosses, really.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, one thing to point out on this, my the weekend league where I probably had the best win rate, I don't think I played all my games, but I was well above a 60% win rate. I was using a 3-5-2, which is sort of the best of both worlds there, because you've got the two strikers, but you've also got your wide midfielders who can overlap. And I think that was partly just opponents being very unfamiliar with playing against the three at the back this year. And I think the game has, certainly I've noticed maybe over the last month of weekend league, it's become much more refined. Almost every team is, I think I came up against 1-5 at the back this weekend, no 3 at the backs. Basically everyone has kind of found a formula that they think works for them, and it's either a 4-3-2-1 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-1-2-1-2 variant.
Yeah, exactly.
And so potentially mixing up your formation, choosing a slightly left field choice could be quite a good shout.
Well, great. I think that's the goalkeeper survey covered.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll do some more surveys in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
It's pretty interesting. Let us know if you liked it, if you found anything out, or if you have any comments on it. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd also like to say thank you to everyone who did it. We really appreciate you taking the time to do it, and look forward to doing something similar soon. So, what have we got next?
Well, biggest thing in the last couple of days, probably this new David Villa SBC. We've got a player, MVP from the
MVP.
MLS season of David Villa. It's an 84 rated purple award winner card, and you need a full MLS squad, 11 players, or all 11 of them have to be different nationality, have to have 100 chemistry, and it has to be at least 76 rated.
Yeah, and I think the combination of the nationality aspect and the minimum rating.
Yeah, and even tricky. 100 chem, actually. Because I found I could have done it with players from my from my club if it was like a 90 chem requirement, just by putting a few people out of position, but you've got to have almost everyone in the right position, and often loyalty on everyone. So it's quite a nice balance of difficulty, actually. I think it's not crazy. The ratings required aren't ridiculous, but you do have to kind of think about it a bit.
So interesting to see no Team of the Week requirement, which was the case for the Janssen SBC.
Oh yeah, of course. That's a good point.
Obviously, the players themselves are going for quite a bit. But let's have a quick chat about the card itself. He looks very good. I've always liked David Villa as a player.
I mean, yeah, he's got 5-star weak foot, which is always lovely. 4-star skills, and this card, just the card face value stats: 75 pace, average, 76 passing, quite nice on a striker. 72 physical, actually a lot better than I was expecting. Maybe
for a little
not,
man.
He's not the biggest. He's only 5'8". But then the two standout stats: 86 dribbling and 89 shooting. And in game, you've got a lovely 92 positioning, 92 finishing, 85 shot power, excellent ball control and dribbling, though slightly let down by his agility maybe.
Yeah,
it's only 79.
But not interestingly, it's not surprising really, but we used him very briefly because I've got him and his shooting does feel really good.
Yeah, you scored an awesome goal off his left, where he's under quite a lot of pressure. And I tried out a couple of kind of silly shots where I wouldn't normally shoot, and he was still testing the keeper. So
he does feel nice, and the fact that you can kind of shoot from off either foot is really, really nice. And he's got my favourite trait, finesse shot.
Of course. Also long shot taker, which is useful, and flair, which helps out a bit.
He's going to be pretty lethal in and around the box. It's just a question of whether he can kind of hold his own as a lone striker or...
Yeah, the difficulty with him really is fitting him into a team and what formation, what setup to use him in, because we were thinking we had him in a false 9 formation, and probably kind of want him maybe with another striker.
Centre forward in a 4-4-1-1 could work, for example.
That could work.
So yeah, no, it's an interesting one. But the thing is, I think the reason why I possibly wouldn't go for that is because I'd quite like to get him in with Thiago, who's been phenomenal for
Thiago Alcantara.
Yeah, he's great. So yeah, he looks good, and I think the only thing I'd say is I'm not sure this card would be worth what most people seem to be willing to pay for.
Yeah, so we've seen a few people saying they'd had to fork out 40, 50k even for the cards to do this. Would you pay that much for an inform like this? And bearing in mind, it probably won't be his best card over the course of the year. You'd have to wait till next summer, but he'll probably get a team of the season,
which will make the team of the season look even better, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Gives it a higher starting point. But basically, if you're paying 40k, it's probably not worth it. But
if he's a player you really want to use, I was quite keen to use him. I was kind of eyeing it up, even with that 40-50k in mind, especially as this weekend's weekend league requirements are obviously
3 nations,
and I was thinking something Spanish around him could be nice. So what I realised is I had so many players because I've been hoarding them since early in the game, because I was thinking I might do the Giovinco SBC. I had loads of players, and weirdly happened to have some of the more bizarre left backs and right backs.
Oh, the kind of obscure nations.
And so sold 2 left backs, silver left backs for almost 10k each. Same with a right back who was a bronze for 8k. Sold a load of other players I had for between 4 and 7, and ended up amassing about 100k from that.
Yeah,
which is
really nice,
crazy, and really good. So what I figured out was I could do this much cheaper without using those players. Basically, left backs and right backs were very, very expensive. I guess because there just weren't many.
Really are very few of them. Yeah.
So what I did was I converted players to get it to work. So what I've got is actually a bronze centre back at right back, a silver left mid at left back, and I've got a total of 3 bronzes, 3 silvers, and then used the gold, some of the high rated gold players like Gerrard, CDM, Howard, Kaka, Villa, and Ladero, who are all not hugely expensive.
Yeah.
And although they are expensive for what they would be, the contrast with having to pay for the
kind of obscure nation silvers,
decent rated silvers, they compensate quite well. So yeah, the total cost of this team is about 23,000, which is really good. I think the only position change is Gerrard, and the left mid I've converted, both really cheap position changes. And
was that a left wing to left mid you had to do?
Yeah, exactly. A left wing to left mid. So yeah, cheap stuff. Pretty cheap players. I don't think I even got them perhaps as cheap as you could. And so I'll post a FUT head link to that squad maybe. Or maybe FUT so you can check the prices are still low. And yeah, so that I think it just shows that you can do it if you really want to, and I'll link that team.
Yeah, basically, I mean, as I think with most kind of single challenge SBCs that don't require specific informs, the cost will go down over the period of it. It's only up for 6 days, but I think certainly once weekend league rewards come out, I think the cost should go down a little bit, at least for a while.
But I think
so I might
you'll
try
still
and do it
find
then.
those players that are
those
like
silvers and
left backs, right
bronzes.
backs, price fixed, I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing to add is you will need loyalty on this. So I just went and like did the single player thing. So you just go into a single match, quit out, and the number of games goes up to 20 minutes or something.
Quit out by disconnecting from the internet.
So it saved me about 20k. So I think it's
not bad.
It was all worth
not
it.
Bad. So yeah, basically take away from this, do it if you think it's worth it for you, and bear in mind with the right setup you can probably do it for about 25k or even less. If you get a bit lucky, spend a bit of time trying to snipe players. To move on, I think we mentioned last week how there are actually 5 weekends in December, and we've not seen that in any of the months we've had FUT Champions so far. And we had a brief chat about how we thought EA would deal with that, whether there might be a kind of special Christmas or New Year's weekend league. They may yet do some big Christmas or New Year's thing. I assume they probably will. But from looking at the schedule and the monthly tally of how many wins we've got over this past weekend, we could see that it's just a 200 game month. It's going to be 5 weekend leagues, and you're going to have to play in all of them if you want to get the gold or the elite monthly rewards. What they haven't done is increased the number of wins needed directly proportionally to get sort of gold or elite or silver monthly rewards. So whereas in a normal 4 weekend month, you need to average just under 17 wins each week to get gold as a monthly reward, and just over 24 wins a week to get elite as a monthly reward. With the 5 weekend month, those are slightly lower. It's like 14.5 wins on average to get gold and 22.5 to get elite, which actually is quite a significant difference.
It's almost 2 wins less a week.
Yeah, exactly. So it's rather than like just below gold 3 each week in order to get gold, and just below gold 1 each week in order to get elite 3. It's just above silver 1 and just above gold 2.
And
it's significant because it makes it much more attainable for a lot more players, because that's probably about the level that a lot of people maybe can get to.
I could have got elite. I wasn't too far off if I'd actually played better. That sounds ridiculous.
If I'd played a little bit better, I could have got in the top 100.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I think I had a bit of problems with lag and things. And
is this last month or in a specific week?
over the last month. And there was a couple of specific weeks where it was really tough in terms of lag, plus various factors like having not prepared my team and things. But I think I quite comfortably would be able to get 22, 23 wins.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Getting 24 to 25 wins, that's a lot harder.
It is. That is a bit of a threshold, because if you win kind of just over half your games, and if you have time to play all 40 every weekend, which very few people do, but if you win just over half your games, you'll get maybe on average about 22, 23 wins. And on like a particularly good week, if you're that caliber of player, you might get 24, 25, even 26. But you're very unlikely to be able to do that over the course of a month. But if you're averaging kind of 22, 23 wins over the course of a month, that is much more attainable.
But I'm going to...
I know words. I have the best words.
But I'm going to be away after Christmas, so I basically won't be able to play that.
There'll be one weekend where you can't play, yeah.
But, despite that, it's still definitely possible. I mean, it would have been possible for me to get elite, but it's still possible for me to get gold, because the average for gold, even if you're playing 4 weekends, which a lot of people might be interested to know, because this is a kind of month where people possibly won't be playing one weekend, you basically end up with 4 weekends, only I think it's just above 18, between 18 and 19.
Yeah, it'll be about gold 3 each
for gold
weekend.
3 overall.
Which is, again, fairly attainable with... I mean, both of us, we tend to hit gold 3 after about 30 games, I'd say, on average, each weekend, sometimes slightly less.
And also, there's the other thing to add, which is that I wonder whether this might be something that they're actually scaling it down overall anyway, or are they just doing it for this month? Will they, when they bring it back to what it was before, will they not quite bring it back to that, or will they drop it a bit?
Well, I think this kind of ties in with something else we wanted to talk about, which is monthly rewards for November, because I think at the end of October, it was almost on the last day of October that they said how the monthly rewards were going to work, kind of when they brought that information out, whereas we've not, and then they said to kind of be aware this might change month on month. We've not had any updated information for the November monthly rewards, so either they're going to tell us when they give out the monthly rewards how things have changed, or they're not going to change it for this month, but they might change it again in future.
Knowing our luck, they'll update everyone just after we've submitted this podcast for upload.
Yeah, of course. They'll probably tell us all, well, they may tell us all this evening when they release this week's rewards.
Yeah. And the other thing to note is, I've mentioned in the past that I thought the way the structure works for the monthly rewards, and this may be one of the reasons why it's been delayed, doesn't quite make sense. The discrepancy between the very top of the gold category, the very bottom of the gold category.
So, yeah, I mean, in gold, for instance, on a normal 4-week month, it's 67 wins to get gold 3, but then like 97 to get elite 3. So you can be within the gold tier for like 30 different, for over 30 wins. That's a huge spread. And you can be getting exactly the same reward. Similarly, yeah, with at any tier, kind of there's no differentiation between 3
what is
and
quite
1.
a significant difference in terms of hours put into the game. But what I think is most significant about this, well, not just hours put into the game, also ability, but what I think is most significant about it is that not only, and why I think they might change it, is not only is that the case, there's also the fact that people have complained about the quality of the bronze and silver rewards. One silver inform just seemed ridiculous. One bronze inform, I mean, why bother? They're untradeable, obviously, but that's fair enough. It kind of has less of an impact on the market. But as a result, I think that they should not only increase the quality of the rewards, but basically create a tier structure which differentiates bronze 1, 2, and 3, and you get specific rewards. So my idea is that bronze 3 would be 1 bronze inform, bronze 2, 2 bronze informs, and then bronze 1 would be 2 bronze informs and a silver inform.
Mm-hmm.
And
on
then,
board with that.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. And it gives you kind of a taste of what's in the level above. And then silver 3 would be 3 silver informs, silver 2, 6 silver informs. So it's basically like doubling the number there. And then the top silver 1 is 6 silver informs. It's the same as that, and then 1 gold inform. And then when you get into gold categories, you get 3 gold informs for gold 3, at gold 2 you get 7 gold informs, and gold 1, 9 gold informs. And then it kind of goes up from there. So elite is 11 gold informs, elite 2, 16, elite 1, 22.
Okay, yeah. I definitely agree that something like that would work. I think you're overestimating EA's potential generosity. Probably. I think it's unlikely they'd go that hard, but something along those lines definitely would be nice. I think we both definitely felt a bit shortchanged when we got our 1 silver inform last month. So potentially something where, say at gold, you got 3 golds for gold 3, and then even if it was just 4 and then 5, or 5 and then 6, or 4 and then 7, I don't know, something just to make it slightly sweeter for the people that put the time in to get gold 2 or gold 1, and the same at the other tiers. And I particularly like the idea of if you get bronze 1, you get a bronze inform or 2 bronze informs and a silver, and if you get a silver 1, you get like 1 gold inform as well as the silver ones. So fingers crossed EA switch that stuff up a bit, maybe.
Yeah, if you're listening, do something about it. No, I think they might do something different. I've got this feeling that they will, but I don't know.
Cool. Shall we take a quick break?
Yeah, I think I need one. So after that short break, I'm rearing to go. Don't know about you.
Yeah, I'm well up for it.
Because we've got some interesting social to get started with. I found this thread. I say found, obviously. It's not hard to find. It's on the FIFA forums. And it's a post by a guy called Jihil. Or JHIL. So what he's got is a picture of a team which he's played. And the team which he's played has a pro player card in it. And the pro player card is what team does he play for?
Preston North End.
North End.
The Scottish 69 rated non-rare striker called Stevie May.
And so for those who don't know what pro player cards are, they are 95, always 95 rated. They're just a staggering boost on almost all their stats. One of the classic, absolutely ridiculous cards is one that I saw of Juan Jesus, who's the former Brazilian centre-back, now left-back, who's at Roma, used to be at Inter. And his pro player card, imagine that as a 95 rated card. Because Stevie made quite a strange balance of stats, but that card was just unreal. And obviously he had it in sort of every team he made, and I guess you would if you're a pro player.
Yeah, no, I mean the stat boosts they get are ridiculous. So the 95 Stevie May has 97 pace, 96 dribbling, 96 shooting, 85 passing, 92 physical, and for good measure 83 defending. So
and on a sort of previously 69 rated silver with little above 70.
Yeah, like he had 76 pace, I think, on his regular card.
60,
everything else is
70, but on everything else,
well below 70. So yeah, apparently Stevie May put attribute cards on a bunch of his players.
Every single one of his players,
pretty much all the others,
including playing himself on 7 chem.
Yeah. So he had his own card on 7 chem, but then gave it a bronze all attribute boost. So I don't know, read into that what you will. Bird apparently this forumer lost 2-0. Regardless,
and wasn't particularly happy about it. Said he was very sweaty, and I think that's kind of confirmed by another tweet, possibly before he got his pro player card.
So there's the rest of the forum post is basically a bunch of people adding evidence to the mounting pile that Stephen May plays like a bit of a dick. Which was one of them was a team that he posted in a 4-2-3-1-2 with Musa converted to Cam in order to play him at Cam along behind Remy, both of them with Hawk Cam style. So it's not Hunter. That's something. But Musa, yeah, exactly. Musa probably on 7 Chem with Vincent Wanyama and Matic in the CDM slots, both with Shadow. Kingsley Coman at left mid with like only a couple of links into him. I don't know. It's a mess of a team, but it is also the sort of team that you probably end up losing to horribly in FUT Champs because everything would go his way. Because
Musa plays like a killer through ball, and
Remy,
exactly. You tackle Remy 5 times and he still scores. But yeah, I mean, I guess the summary is he looks pretty sweaty, and he also posted that he'd got his teammate a pro player card as well.
Yeah, Palmer. He's got a right back card with 97 pace, 95 dribbling, 92 passing, 96 physical, 81 shooting and 85 defending. Weird that defensive card would not get a massive defending boost.
No, it's true.
I mean, I'm assuming it's quite a big boost on his regular card. But
maybe it's actually one of his worst stats.
Yeah, you never know.
But they are ridiculous cards, and it makes you think like maybe I should have pursued that career as a pro footballer, which was definitely possible for me.
It was the fact that I had no guarantee of getting a special card from EA that made me quit.
Yeah, I mean,
as a young up-and-coming footballer.
But yeah, I mean, the incentives are really there to be a professional footballer now.
Yeah, it's this lucky younger generation.
But they're actually, I mean, in saying that, they have been around for a while, these pro player cards. But I'm not sure they quite extended the reach down to the bottom tiers.
Yeah, maybe it was just people weren't aware of them as much. Yeah, I think there is probably actually a thing where a lot of professional footballers in their early 20s now would have been teenagers, academy players as Ultimate Team was coming out, who probably were just like your everyday teenager who plays Ultimate Team.
Who's interested in football,
So it's no surprise that we mentioned David Mailer, the whole midfielder who clearly plays a lot and like streams and is quite a good player. It makes perfect sense that.
And apparently Stevie May,
I
mean, what you like about his tactics, has actually finished quite well in the weekend league.
Yeah.
Has got elite and things, I think. So yeah, I mean, they do also probably have a lot of time to play FIFA.
Quite a lot of time, quite a lot of disposable income. I mean,
quite good teams, or well, I don't know, good or
effective. That is a thing.
So yeah, interesting stuff. I remember there being this post in the forums a few weeks ago saying that this guy was like a pro player, some random American goalkeeper.
Okay.
He claimed to be like I think he's called Matt Pacifici.
Yeah.
And he'd like said on forum, I'm Matt Pacifici. Who do I talk to get my pro player card? And having like then had a look at his Twitter, it was quite clear that this guy was not following anything related to Ultimate Team, which immediately makes you think it's probably not the Matt Pasquicci.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's quite a clever idea if you manage to pull it off
find
somehow.
like an obscure footballer
if you
and
somehow
pretend to
manage
be
to pull
them.
it off, you could have just a stunning card.
Someone was saying on the forums that it was the players have to get their clubs to get in touch with EA.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
But I don't know. You'd have thought a player can normally prove who they are to someone.
Set up like a Portland Timbers at gmail.com. And like,
I mean, it was a few years ago. Was it a Greetsman card or something where he got it for his cousin and then it ended up on the market somehow?
Joey Barton's card ended up on the market because back then they were tradable.
Yeah, of course.
Joey Barton had like got it for his cousin. I guess used his cousin's account. Classic Joey. He's always doing something dodgy, isn't he? But it ended up that card was put on the market by the brother, and a YouTuber bought it for like loads, and
15 million probably.
It was amazing.
Max price.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
So we move on to Team of the Week?
Yeah. No big 95 rated players in here, but some very good ones.
We've got it's another really nice one. We've got 2 90s, an 89, an 87, a couple of 86s. Let's start off with the 90s. Sergio Ramos. That's going to be an awesome card. I mean, the stats on that are outrageous. Everything above 70. And yeah, I mean, nothing really to say about that other than it's going to be awesome. It's going to be expensive. Alexis Sanchez, his third in form at striker. I really want that card.
Yeah.
If just any striker Alexis would be awesome. Marco Reus at left wing. That's going to be brilliant. Diego Costa, second in form. That card's only getting better and better. I'm sure he'd be an excellent target man. Then you've got actually a bunch of 86s. I think I said 2. There are 4. I don't know where I got 2 from. In William Carvalho, Raja Nangolan, Marek Hamšík, and Christian Benteke, all of which actually look like very good cards for different reasons. Carvalho, I know Ben, you've used him and said like his regular card is unbelievably good.
He is probably the best CDM I've used. I mean, I haven't actually used Kante and I haven't used any Legends, but he's definitely the best, and I've used quite a few
as a kind
CDMs.
of traditional sort of holding midfielder.
His passing's really, really good, which is kind of something you don't expect, but yeah. We can look into that a bit further.
Nangolan, we know, he's got everything well above 80. Excellent card. Hamšík, I've used his regular card as well. Very solid attacking midfielder. Lack of 4-star skills, bit of a disappointment, but otherwise he's got everything you could want. And that Christian Benteke card, I said Diego Costa looked like a good target man, but I think the Christian Benteke one actually is a bit quicker. He's got almost the same shooting, about the same physical. I think he'd be brilliant as well. Good.
Oh, and there's this weird thing with the 283 rated.
Yeah,
there's 283 rated Brazilian Liga centre backs.
Both have 85 defending, both have 81 physical, both have 75 passing.
Very weird.
Hilton and Dante, neither of which actually look that good to use.
At all.
Because of their pace and lack of height on Hilton.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, who's your first pick?
So my first pick is going to be, I seem to do this every week, but it's going to be a Portuguese. And it's going to be Manuel Fernandes, who is he's a CDM. It's quite a change because he's a cam and
his regular
card, which I've used his regular card, very, very good. You know, a bit of a Dynamite discard actually, and a player that has 4-star skills and 4-star weak foot, which is great. The only slightly frustrating thing is that his stamina isn't the best, and he's not that tall. But this inform, unlike chemistry styles, does boost his stamina slightly. So he's got 78 stamina, which is much more helpful.
Yeah, it makes it more usable.
Exactly. But the real kind of key things are basically all his stats have been boosted by 4 or 5, which for kind of an all-round box-to-box, slightly more attacking midfielder is exactly what you want. So with basic on him, I mean, he just looks astonishing. Some of the stats that I'm seeing in front of me for an 83 rated card, remember. His passing looks really good. 92 long passing, 91 short passing, with greater long shots as well, 86 long shots, 93 shot power. He's got good tackling for a more attacking midfielder, 80 standing tackle, 79 sliding tackle, 78 marking. He's got really, really stunning ball control, 92, 91 dribbling, decent curve finishing. His jumping is 85. He's got 78 strength, despite also having 90 acceleration and 91 agility, and 79 balance. He just seems like the ultimate well-rounded midfielder.
Yeah, unbelievable going forward, and also really quite solid defensively. Cool. Well, I'll move on quickly to a couple of players I wanted to compare because I mentioned them both in the little roundup, and it's Diego Costa and Christian Benteke, both of whom I think would make excellent target men in game. They're both second in form cards. Diego Costa is one rating higher. Obviously, his base card is much higher than Benteke's, but now they're a bit closer. And my money is probably on Benteke to be the slightly more effective card. I mean, as I said, they are very similar. They've both got 84 dribbling, 89 shooting. Diego Costa has 90 physical to Benteke's 89, but then Benteke wins out in pace slightly, 81 versus 77, and Benteke also wins slightly on passing with 75 against 73. They both have 4-star weak foot, 3-star skills. Benteke is 2 centimeters taller, but Diego Costa is 2 kilograms heavier. So, I mean, maybe that'll give him a slight advantage. In terms of their kind of actual in-game stats, they've got 93 and 95 strength, respectively, for Costa and Benteke.
Pretty well matched on that.
Pretty well matched. But the big difference on their physical stats, at least, is Benteke's agility and jumping, where he's got 82 agility and 86 jumping compared to 63 agility and 61 jumping on Diego Costa. So I think both in terms of how he feels on the ball and his ability in the air, he will probably win out, actually.
And also, he's quicker.
And he's quicker, yeah. He's got 78 acceleration, 83 sprint speed compared to 74 and 78 on Costa. Then one area where Diego Costa definitely will be better is in terms of his kind of aggression, his attacking positioning. He's got 95 for both of those compared to 80 and 85 for Benteke. So they both have excellent vision. With the attacking positioning, I think that's something that's often boosted a lot by your chem style.
Yeah, definitely.
Regardless of which attacking chem style you
can
go for.
easily get a plus 15 off quite often, yeah.
Plus 10 or 15, so that'll kind of be equaled out. They've got 95 and 89 finishing. Diego Costa slightly stronger, but again, any kind of finishing boost on 89 from a chem style and you're in the mid-90s, you're probably not going to notice the difference. And yeah, I think they'd both be excellent, but my money's on Benteke for the added agility.
Yeah, he just looks slightly better, more well-rounded, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Costa may be the more out-and-out poacher, whereas you might be able to actually create a bit more with Benteke.
And he's sort of benefiting from having another inform, I suppose, this being his second. And
yeah, exactly. The kind of almost the fact that the lower-rated players are getting the bigger boosts. He's kind of had an extra +2 on top of his first inform, so it's a much greater increase in the stats. Who are you wanting to move us on to now? Yeah,
so the man I am is another Portuguese midfielder who I've used, William Carvalho, who is just such a rock in this game. For me, he's better than De Rossi. He's probably the best CDM I've used. Haven't used Kante, etc. But I feel like
best pure CDM.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a real sort of presence, as you probably know. But also this card has gone up to an 86, which is obviously really quite high rated. But he shouldn't be too expensive, you would have thought, considering his normal card's about 700 coins. So I think what the interesting thing about this is it's got some really huge boosts off the regular card.
Yeah.
So he's got +8 on his short passing, +8 on his shot power, +8 on his vision, +8 on his attacking positioning, and +9 on his long passing. And there are plenty of other +6s and 7s in there.
Yeah.
So that's looking really, really good. So if you pop backbone on him, you start to sort of max out a lot of his key stats.
Yeah.
He gets 99 strength, 99 stand tackle, 99 short passing, 92 marking, 99 long passing, 96 interceptions, 90 vision, and he already has 90 stamina. So, yeah.
Pretty strong.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
And he doesn't sort of move around, I think, as much as a lot of CDMs. Maybe it's just because of his pace. But he really feels like a solid presence and someone you can kind of rely on. So the boost to his passing, some of his attacking stats, and his tackling is really, really key.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks like a really, really awesome card just to be sitting there holding a midfield together. Now, one last thing to pick up on this Team of the Week is a bit of a pack troll that I wonder if EA almost did deliberately. Because obviously there is the 90 rated Alexis Sanchez that everyone will want to pull from this Team of the Week. But there is another Chilean striker, and I think when you get a big pull from a pack, you've got the card comes up first, so you'll see it's an inform, then you'll see it's Chilean, you'll see it's a striker, and at that point you're wetting yourself, and then you see it's Castillo, the 81 rated guy with 67 pace, who's I had a look at some of his in-game stats, and they're not pretty.
Yeah, he's really, really bad.
He looks
but,
awful.
But I mean, quite funny. And also the difference in value is going to be like 800k or something.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that.
Oh, quickly, before we move on, actually, I wanted to mention, because we've been doing goalkeepers, the Spanish goalkeeper who's played actually for Real Madrid, Lopez, has got an inform, and he looks like he could be one of the better keepers in the Spanish league. If you remember what we were saying about height of keepers really mattering, then Liga BBA is probably one of the worst for tall keepers. But Lopez is 6'5" and has really, really solid stats in terms of positioning and also handling. And he's also got better reflexes and diving than Oblak.
Yeah.
So he looks like he could be a really good option and someone that's maybe worth picking up if people start to realise he's a good keeper.
Yeah,
he
I also
might go up in price.
suspect. Yeah, he will be quite cheap to begin with.
Oh, so one very final thing to add, actually, is that the team of the group stage of the Champions League should be out on Friday. And this will mean that not only is the current team of the weekend packs also that team, which will obviously be really good, being the best players from the Champions League, and that will be an ideal time to open any packs you may have got from the weekend league, so try to hold off if you can until then. And also you might want to sell informs that could be in it. But yeah, it should be very good.
Awesome. Let's move on.
So Horace, you've got the Dynamite discard of the week.
Yeah, I'm bringing a CDM, Brazilian, Russian league. It plays for Zenit, and it's Mauricio.
I was going to say Giuliano, but...
Yeah, so he has a perfect link to Giuliano, and that's partly why I was using him, and partly just because I was quite keen to try him out, because I clocked his card a while back and thought it looked really, really solid. He's 5'10". I'll start actually with one slight weak point of him, or probably his only real disadvantage is a kind of all-round box-to-box defensive midfield, which is his work rates, because he's got high attacking and medium defensive. I just put him on stay-back instructions, and I didn't really have any problems with him being out of position. And he's just an excellent all-rounder, to be honest. I think I just used basic on him in terms of a chem style, and what that does to his card stats, for instance, is takes him up to 77 pace, 77 shooting, 80 passing, 82 dribbling, 79 defending, and 75 physical, which is just kind of, there's no weak point there. And digging into a few of his in-game stats that you get with that, you've got 81 shot power and 80 long shots, so you can be a threat from distance. He's got 80 vision, 87 short passing, 82 long passing, also 80 free kicks and 85 curve, which is something to bear in mind because I sometimes find I don't tend to always take account of having a free kick taker in a team. So sometimes I'll build a team and I won't actually have anyone who's good at free kicks in there. And obviously he's not brilliant, but he does fill that role if you're missing something. And then defensively, just with basic chem style again, he's got 74 interceptions, so that's not brilliant, but 84 marking, 80 standing tackle, and 79 sliding tackle, alongside 75 strength and 95 jumping. So he's only 5'10". He's definitely not short, but he's not a kind of huge hulking defensive midfielder, but he's still quite strong in the air because he's got that incredible jumping on him. And I was just really happy with him all round. I knew not to try too much with him, so I wouldn't be trying to beat lots of players. But sometimes that you need that player just to kind of tick over. He feels fairly kind of quick on the ball.
Yeah, he's quite agile and he's quite strong, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So he's got that nice combination. He can turn. He doesn't feel clunky. He's got 79 agility, 86 ball control, and 82 dribbling again with basic. So he just kind of was the grease in the engine of my midfield. And I was playing him in a 4-2-3-1 wide alongside the Movember Luis Gustavo. So he was kind of the muscle in my midfield. He was a bit taller, a bit stronger, excellent defensive stats on him. And Mauricio kind of did a bit more of the running. And it was a really strong combo, I found.
Because when I used him in the 4-2-3-1 narrow, and it was in the Al Summer team. And he was really, really good alongside both. I had originally had him alongside Alan, and I put backbone on him because Alan's not that tall. And obviously, Mauricio's got 5'10", but he's got 90 jumping, so I put backbone on him. Wanted him to be a more physical player, and he was really, really good at that and excelled there. And then I thought I still needed him to get the perfect into Giuliano, but when I brought in Luis Gustavo, I put engine on him, and he was like, fascinating how he sort of filled both.
Well, because he's got such a solid base of stats. He's a character. because he's got such a solid base of stats, he's a player where the chem style you use can really have a huge impact on what sort of role he fills.
Yeah, exactly. That's really true. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed. He scored a few goals,
Yeah.
and made some crucial tackles for me, and was exactly what you wanted there.
And he's one he's a very genuine discard.
Yeah.
Dynamite discard. He's sub 1k. So pick him up if you've got a Brazilian or a Russian league team that you're putting together.
And it actually leads on quite nicely to my informed impression.
Yeah.
Who you could easily play alongside, because he's a Dutch winger and he plays in the Russian league. And many of you might know already that it's that man Quincy Promes. And the thing about Quincy is he has this informed card, which is a nice +3 rating. These 81 rated players seem to get a nice +3 as well. And the card stats without any chem style are really strong. I mean, he's got 91 pace, 84 shooting, and 85 dribbling.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. And 70 physical, 78 passing as well. But I think where he really excels is because I have him in a false 9. Actually, with Giuliano at centre forward, he plays as almost like the striker out wide. He's really high on the pitch. He's got high attacking work rate, low defensive, so he really kind of stays up right up the top. And he's 5'8", so he's not the tallest. He's got the 5-star skills, 4-star weak foot. Sorry, 4-star skills, 4-star weak foot. And if you put sniper on him, he gets 99 finishing, and
very nice.
91 positioning, and decent shot power long shots already, which aren't boosted at 85 and 86. I've scored some cracking long shots with him. He's the kind of player that you can, if you're in trouble in sort of that kind of sweaty last couple of minutes, he's the man to sort of deliver that and like just go for it. He's really, really good. And I think he's one of those players that's really proved to me that chemistry does make a difference.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that he would feel like 99 finishing without the sniper card. As soon as you put that sniper card on him, he will finish anything in the box.
Yeah.
And it's just been great because obviously Giuliano isn't really that kind of player. And on the other side, they've got Douglas Costa. So I think he is kind of the striker in the team, which is quite interesting.
As a front three, that's quite, you're maybe lacking a natural finisher without that.
So yeah, and he's also got sort of 95 agility, 99 dribbling, 88 ball control, 89 balance, which I think is really key. 87 reactions and decent stamina and jumping as well, both around mid-80s. So he's got decent passing. I haven't boosted it just because he's not really passing, he's just finishing off the moves. But I've just been so impressed in it. I'd honestly like to say just please just go out and buy him because he's so good. I'm interested to see, maybe it's just me, but honestly he's so good.
Yeah,
and I mean, you can get him for about 30k. He was a team of the week 1 player, so he's a bit more expensive
Something
than
to bear in mind.
Probably should be. But
I used his regular card earlier on this year, again in a team with Giuliano, and can kind of back up everything you've said, though my impression was slightly less glowing, probably because he was the regular card, not the inform. And I didn't have sniper on him, so actually that probably would have made quite a big difference. But no, even with his regular card, I really enjoyed him.
Yeah, no, he's great. I think, honestly, he's probably one of the best informs I've used this year, even up there with like other wingers like Balassi and Quaresma, who I've used. He's really, really good, and I cannot recommend him enough.
Cool, so definitely one to pick up if you can.
Definitely, and I think that sums up our picks for this week. Anything else you want to mention? Or?
I think that's about it, really, isn't it?
Great. Well, that is us done for this week.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing you again next week. As always, hit us up on Twitter if you've got any questions, or email us FUTweekly@mail.com, and we will see you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.